Hi, welcome to Steph's World, episode 10. I have to check on that. It could be episode 11 for all I know. I'm going to be real honest. I've been very sick, very ill, and I've been writing what really is a book. Truthfully, it is. But I call it a story. And it's called Goodbye to My Loved Ones from a Dying Woman. Um, The reason I named it that, it wasn't originally named that. Originally it was called Spiritual Foundations, and I had it all worked out. I even had a table of contents and all that. Well, over the summer, some things began happening to me that made me realize, oops, I might not have time to do this the way I had planned. Okay? Might just have to get the sucker put out there. Stop horsing around and get it written. And it is important to me. Very important. Because I've lived a very interesting life. In fact, some people who may continue to read this or who have begun to read it may not even believe it. That's fine. I don't really care. I hope you do, because I don't lie. Uh, and even when I was really messed up in life, I didn't lie then either. In fact, I was almost too truthful, all right? Hurtingly truthful, which people have a tendency to be. We can tell the truth, but we can do it in a loving way. I prefer to do it that way today. Now, when I lost my beautiful son, Matthew Norris Miller, Sergeant Master Matthew Norris Miller, that taught me even more. It taught me about super humility. My child was an unbelievably humble human being. And I'll be talking about him and my other children quite a bit in the rest of the story. I do intend to really focus on each one of them because each one of them is very special in their own right. But what I'm really trying to do right now is to tell this story. And some of it's tough. It's hard to even read. That's why I think probably a lot of people, if they do read it, they'll say, oh, this can't be true. Well, I've made comments periodically as I put it out on Google Plus and Google Drive that I am a miracle. I shouldn't even be here right now. I sabotaged my life for many, many, many years. I did things that should have killed me. And I lived to tell the tale, so to speak. I lived. And there was a reason. And I even commented just yesterday online. I did a little share and I made a comment that as a child I always knew there was a reason for me to be here. There was a reason for all of us to be here. Every creature in the universe, for all of us to be here. And I'm an impatient person. I want to know why now. Sound familiar? I bet a lot of people are. I bet a lot of kids are, especially. But you know what? It just doesn't work that way. Now, here's what does work. Our souls. They know it all. They know everything there is to know. This is going to get a little complicated. That's why I'm writing the story, because in the story it's going to graduate to a level where it's going to talk about my soul. And it's important. It's not a religious story, but it is a spiritual story. I've said before, I don't belong to any specific religion. I belong to God. Spirituality, mysticism, that's God. I believe in a lot of prophets from a lot of different places. You know what's really sad right now is that some of our people in higher places trying to control other countries, uh, doing stupid things, stupid movies that anger other people who strongly believe in their religious values. You know, even though I'm not of any religion, a lot of other people are. And in most every religion that I've studied, and trust me, I've studied a lot, they all speak of honor and respect. So where the heck is the honor and respect here? I'd like to know. You need to ask yourself, do I honor and respect my family? Do I honor and respect my neighbor? Do I make fun of people? Do I call them names? Do I make judgments? You know, I'm not talking about anyone becoming a perfect human being. There is no such thing, except maybe a few in our history. I believe that if anyone was pretty close to perfect, it was Jesus the Christ. And by the way, I call Jesus the Christ because Christ means um, uh, not throne, but you know, like upon a throne, or well, it doesn't matter. But what it means is that they're higher than the average human being. Okay, they're like spiritual royalty. Let's put it that way. But the point is that that wasn't his last name. So I'm not going to call him Jesus Christ, okay? I'm sorry. You will not usually hear that out of my mouth. But I do really honor and respect what Jesus the Christ tried to bring to our world. You know, you have to ask yourself, anybody does, am I following my spiritual and my religious teachings? Do I live the way and I think the way that I've been taught to think and live? That's for all of you to figure that one out. I have to deal with my own, okay? And that's something big to deal with, trust me. I had a lot of amends to make at one point in my life, and I'm not done. Not by any means. I hurt a lot of people, not just me, but a lot of other people, my own children. When I thought I was loving them, I overdid for them. And there came a time when my kids didn't want to tell me what was going on with them. They didn't want to tell me about the tough things that people were doing to them at school. You know why? I was overprotective. I wanted to protect them. I didn't want anyone to hurt my babies. No one. Because I was hurt when I was a child, really bad. And I did not want my children to ever feel the way I did. But guess what? No matter how much we try to give our little children the best thing we can give them, the best life we think we're doing for them, we can't take away everything, and we shouldn't. They have to learn, and we know that. But here's the real problem. What I'm trying to point out, the reason I went all the way back to the beginning, and if you read the spiritual foundation parts, you'll see the history of at least one side of my family. It's important. It tells why my father was who he was. It tells where I came from, the world that they grew up in, and how that helped make me who I was during my childhood. Now, I'm not trying to focus on the story too much right now, but I do want people to know it's out there, and I hope you read it. It's not just for my darling children who are left in this world. It's not just for them. It's for everyone. When I finally got some help, and oh, believe me, did I need it. And as the story goes on, you'll see why. You probably already know if you've read any of it. Talk about damaged goods. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. But today, when you meet me, you'd never know it. You'd never know that I came from that world. Not unless I tell you. And a lot of times when I tell people, they're about ready to run out of this house as quick as they can, because it's almost too much for them to bear. They can't even imagine someone actually surviving through the stuff that I lived in. And I'm not saying my life was the most horrendous and difficult life in the world. It wasn't. I had very good times in my world. I did some really good things for myself and for my family. So it wasn't all bad. There were a lot of lessons that had to be learned. And the good news is, I'm learning them. You think I'm done? Heck no. Far from it. And here's another little thing I believe in. I don't think we learn it in one lifetime, okay? How can we? And I also believe that Jesus the Christ even told us that. I have several books that talk about that. These are from people who I would call modern day prophets, who are very smart about when it comes to understanding religion or spirituality. These are the people that really know. And oh, by the way, one that I read a lot, he's gone. He passed on. He isn't even alive anymore. But when you read him, you'd never know it from the things that he says. But I want to talk about the honor and respect right now, too. It's a big focus in my life at the moment for a number of reasons. My mother has Alzheimer's and she's dying. She knows she's dying. How about that? Here's what I believe. I believe that people, before they die, they kind of have a little heads up inside. They have some signs that tell them that, and I don't like using the word die. I'm sorry, I am. The body dies. Let's put it that way. But they do have a heads up. And if you read my story, you're going to see that from some of my friends who have passed on. And some of the things that they did just prior to passing on. It was like they were getting it all ready. It was unbelievable. But at the time, I didn't quite pick that up. Of course, when they're good friends of yours and you really care about them, you actually love them, it's hard to face the truth. It really is. But anyway, you're just grateful that you had good times with them before they moved on. Now, I've written other blogs that I wish people would read. They're true. Whether you want to believe it or not, they're true. I was given some gifts. In fact, I think all of us have it. But for some reason, I have the ability to really get in touch with my gifts. Not everybody seems to have that ability. Sometimes I think it's a blockage that in your own soul. There might be some reason that your soul is shutting it off, not allowing you to get quite in touch with it. Now I know I'm getting kind of cuckoo right now to some people. Well, hang in there, because what I got to say is important. Honor and respect. Everybody deserves it. Everybody. I don't care who you are. We all deserve it. You know, every human being is born a little baby, and no baby is guilty of anything but being loved. They shouldn't be punished. You would never think of hitting a little baby, would you? I hope not. Would you ever say something terrible about a tiny little baby? Because if you would, well, go get some help, please. But the point is that we have to remember we all started out that way, right? We were all babies at one time. We came into this world that way. And the funny part is that when we leave it, if we grow old enough, sometimes we're almost like babies again. And I've seen that with my own parents. My mother knows, even though she has Alzheimer's, she knows she's passing on. She has a very bad heart. And my parents were thinking of moving down south, closer to where I live. We have great winters. Why shouldn't they move down here? And my dad loves the south. He hates the winters. But anyway, my father was a scientist. And scientists have this real problem. A lot of them do. Not all. Albert Einstein actually believed in a life after death. But not all scientists do. And my father, yes, he sent us to Catholic schools, some of us, when we were growing up. But deep down, he didn't believe in God. At least he said he didn't. And one day I asked him, "Hey, Dad, do you believe in the laws of nature?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, well, I hate to tell you this, you're not an atheist. He doesn't call himself an atheist anymore because he knew that was true. But anyway, he's becoming more open to the spirituality stuff because he's actually seeing it for himself. My dad called me last week and he desperately wanted to move my mother and him down here. They went to live with one of my younger sisters in Chicago. I came from a big family, a big Irish Catholic family. Okay? Yes, we have Native American in us, but my mother became a Catholic for my father long ago. But anyway, and who knows why my dad did that. Maybe it was because of the educational benefits. That might have been it. Anyway, I'm going to try to wrap this up because I'm even past 20 minutes, and I'm sorry about that, but it's important. And I feel like my time is going to start running short. I have got to get this out. My dad called me and he said, well, I want to move your mother down there. Your sister is driving me crazy. I'm 82 years old, but I don't need to be mothered. Now, he told me my mother might need it, but not him. And he's right. My sister tried to take over, and I knew this was going to happen. I tried to pre-warn my dad, but it didn't do any good, so I just let it go. You can't force the truth onto people. You just can't. You know? That's why I'm writing the story, because I'm not going to tell you about you, but I'm going to tell you about me. And maybe you'll see something similar in it. Maybe you will. And if you do, oh, I've accomplished something. I really have. But anyway, when my dad called me and said that, he said, start looking for assisted living places. So I did. And I'm sick right now. I am very ill. But there's something inside of me that, ill or not, I'll get out of my sick bed or wherever, and I'll get out in that car and I'll drive myself to wherever I have to go. So I called a few places. I started doing a little bit of checking. And then I called my dad, actually, on Saturday, and I said, Dad, you have got to be honest with your daughter, with my sister, Kathleen. You have got to be honest with her. You cannot just make all these plans and then one day say, okay, we're moving. She went to a lot of trouble for you. And he said to me, Steph, here's the deal. Early in the morning, your mother has it together. It's almost like she went through the night, she slept, and first thing in the morning, I can almost trust what she's saying to me. She's almost normal again. And this morning, yesterday morning for them, she had told him that she couldn't handle making another move, especially such a long one. Chicago down to the deep south? I don't think so. She knows. She knew. And she knows that she is on her way towards a new place. Her physical body is preparing to die. And she knows it. And when I talked to my dad, I said, well, Dad, it's everything I've been telling you. There are times, especially in Alzheimer's, that I truly believe you're not talking to the mind. You're hearing a soul. That's why you can't understand what they're saying. None of it makes any sense. Even these memories that they come up with don't make sense. because they're soul memories. They go way beyond this life. And my dad is now seeing that for himself. And human beings are pretty darn stubborn creatures, believe me. I know. I'm one of them. We either have to live it or we have to be shown it. And it doesn't even work just once. It has to occur over and over again for us to have true belief and faith. It really does. Just think about your own life and you'll know I am speaking a truth. I don't have to be a psychiatrist. I know, believe me. And I've been to plenty too, by the way. If you read my story, you'll know why. Now, out of 6 kids that all went through a lot of, I'm not going to call it abuse. I did at one time in my life. But my father and my mother were simply doing the best they could. And I've written that in the story. They did not know how to raise 6 kids. And on top of that, we were wild. We were the wild bunch, We were wild kids to begin with. And if you read my story, you'll see why. And you'll learn. Maybe you can relate. And I hope you do. Anyway, it's the longest video I've made yet. But I was going to read something, some actual scripture, but I'll wait. And I'll do that in another video. But I love some of you people on Google+. I don't have to even ever meet you physically. I love your spirit. I really do. I wish I could meet you. Oh man, do I wish I could meet you. You have no idea. But maybe we will. We don't know everything like we think we do. Well, I'm going to cut it short now and let it go. I hope I made sense in this little video or big video. Y'all have a blessed day. And if you pray for guidance and direction for me and God's will for me. Don't pray for anything specific. I have trouble with my words sometimes. It's part of the brain aneurysm that I had almost 5 years ago. So bear with me. I love y'all. Have a great day.